What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Stefan, and tonight I'm going to be talking about and celebrating one of the greatest rap classes ever made by Nas, which is It Was Written. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself on this musical ride with me throughout the video. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to the channel if you're a returning subscriber. Also, don't forget to turn on your notification for new videos. Thank y'all for the daily support and love. I deeply appreciate it so much. So here we go. Happy 26th anniversary to one of the greatest rap classes ever made by one of my all-time favorite rap lyricists, straight out of Queensbridge. On July 2nd, 1996, Nas delivered his sophomore classic album, It Was Written, on Columbia Records. After the modest commercial success of his classic debut album, Illmatic, in 1994, Nas pursued a much polished mainstream sound for It Was Written. Produced largely by Trackmasters, it departed from that debut raw, underground, authentic, and embraced mafioso and gangster themes. The recording also marked the first appearance of Nas' short-lived supergroup, The Firm, which featured Foxy Brown, AZ, and Carmega. The album was a commercial success, selling 270,000 copies in its first week, debuting at number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200 chart, while receiving mostly positive reviews. It heralded his mainstream popularity as well as of mafioso rap, drawing similarly successful albums like Raekwon's Bill for Cuban Links in 1995 and Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt in 1996. However, Nas' more commercial sound fostered accusations of selling out within the hip-hop community, and critical standing suffered with comparisons to the acclaimed Illmatic, with at least 3 million copies sold and certified triple platinum. It Was Written remains his best-selling album. How do you follow up an instant classic? How do you balance commercial appeal with artistic admission? Is there a way to find a massively wide audience while keeping one foot in the place that you came from? Those were the questions that weighed heavily on the minds of Nas, his manager Steve Strout, and producers Trackmasters as work began on his sophomore album, It Was Written. It goes without saying that his 1994 classic debut album, Illmatic, is one of the greatest albums ever recorded, but it was initially a commercial flop, failing to go gold in its first year. He was hailed as a genius by critics, but that impeccable greatness didn't translate to sales. Not enough folks heard it. Looking for a new path to success, Nas connected with a young go-getter named C. Scout, who became his manager. Fearing that Nas will end up like Cool G Rap, or an acclaimed lyricist who never sold a ton of records, The Scout made it his mission to dream bigger and achieve Billboard busting numbers for the 22-year-old street poet from Queensbridge. Following his critical acclaim debut, Illmatic, Nas returned with his sophomore album, It Was Written. Despite the praise, Illmatic slowly reached platinum status while Nas watched fellow New Yorker, the Notorious B.I.G., gain bigger success in the same year with his classic debut, Ready to Die, a balance of hardcore rhymes and a commercial sound courtesy of Puff Daddy. Manager Steve Scout and producing duo The Trackmasters were brought in to try and help Nas with that balance, but the more commercial sound and Nas introducing himself with a mafioso persona, Nas Escobar, led to criticism from hip-hop at the time. As time passed, the criticism wandered, causing some artists and publications to claim It Was Written is actually better than Illmatic. People may use the sales to support that claim, as Illmatic is Nas' highest selling album today, and it was certified triple platinum after debuting at number 1 on the Billboard 200. The album was supported by the singles Street Dreams, the original version, and the remix with R. Kelly, and If I Rule the World, imagine that, with Lauryn Hill. 2 years after his classic debut, Illmatic, Nas needed a plan to ward off sophomore slump. To this end, Nas united Nas up with Tone and Polk, aka Trackmasters. Many felt that they might water down his sound. They were best known for producing crossover hits like Mary J. Blige's Be Happy and Notorious B.I.G. Juicy. But the pair had their roots firmly planted in hardcore hip-hop, with production credits for Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, and Kool Moe Dee. C. Scout believed that they can bring balance to the record. Following the critical acclaim of his debut album Illmatic in 1994, Nas chose to concentrate his effort in a more mainstream direction, in contrast to the raw, unpolished, and underground tone of his debut album. Despite its significant impact on hip-hop at the time, Illmatic didn't experience the lost sales of most major releases at the time in hip-hop, such as Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style in 1993. This was due in part to Nas' shy personality and involvement, and in part in promoting the record. Nas began to make appearances on other artists' work, including Kool G's rap Fast Light on his album 456 in 1995, Mobb Deep, An Eye for an Eye on the infamous AZ, More Murder, More Money, More Murder, More Homicide on the Do or Die album, and Raekwon Verbal Intercourse on his album Only Built for Cuban Links, which made Nas the first non-Wu-Tang member to appear on one of his solo recordings. He also began to dub himself as Nas Escobar on these guest appearances. The success of fellow East Coast act Notorious B.I.G. and promoter Puff Daddy at the 1995 The Source Awards show ceremony sent a message to Nas to change his commercial approach, resulting in him hiring Steve the Commissioner Scout as manager. While Illmatic gained gold status in the United States, Steve Scout convinced Nas to aim his efforts in a more mainstream commercial direction for his second album, after which Nas enlisted track masters who were known at the time for their mainstream success. On July 2nd, 1996, a new album from Nas hit the shelf. The album, I believe, is the greatest hip-hop album ever. It holds a very special place in my heart. Nas was riding high on a gold-selling debut with Illmatic, and he will be enjoying the success that came with it. One story that about this album that always stuck with me was the report or rumor that Nas was struggling with money during 1995 and had to take out a loan for the Sophomore, which is mostly clothes and jewelry from what I have heard. Nas had developed expensive taste and his spending habits became an issue. He had christened himself Nas Escobar, and it came up with a fascination of the mafioso lifestyle. This will manifest Nas to begin gravitating to a more mafioso rap style, along with a more commercial style, to achieve the success he desired and presumably helped him out of whatever doubt he had accumulated. Nas would go under what was seen a style change, and with it came a different style and more creative freedom. Now, while Illmatic was true to the form of boom bap hip hop at its finest, this new album Nas was putting together had different elements in it. There were more samples and loops, along with lush arrangements and concept. Lyrically, Nas was still as focused as ever, and he wasn't showing signs of missing a beat either. I listened to services of Steve Scout's and a few of producers. Nas will create something that many will recognize as his best album and one of the best hip-hop albums of the 90s and of time. Today, 26 years later, we look back at the greatest hip-hop releases of 1996 and what I feel is Nas' best album. Ladies and gentlemen, it was written. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself on this musical ride as we celebrate the 26th anniversary of It Was Written. Nas will go for a more commercial sound, as I mentioned earlier, but he definitely played into the mafia theme as well. The Nas Escobar moniker he adored himself with definitely would set the tone, and we will hear glimpses of that persona come out on his guest appearances on Verbal Intercourse from the Only Bill for Cuban Links album by Raycon, and even more so on AZ's More Money, More Murder, More Homicide off his classic Do or Die debut. With the image in place and his affinity for mafioso rap now taking shape, Nas will also focus his attention on a more glamorous lifestyle. The poverty-inspired raps and lyricism of Illmatic was still there in small spurs, but they have been mostly replaced by a Nas who wanted the world and everything in it, while still putting a message despite his need to shine. This would be showcased on the intro of this album, the beginning of this epic saga, where a slave rebellion is heard taking place. In a way, it felt as if Nas was starting off the album breaking his own chains, so to speak, freeing himself to go after what he deserves, wants, and desires. Over the course of the album, we see a Nas that promotes guns, name brand clothing, and alcohol, money spent and essence, while still lacing us with lyrical gems. His mafioso rap persona, conceptive songs that pleases the listeners, and some thought-provoking messages, and straight up classic verses overall. The album contradicts itself in some way throughout, and that's the beauty of it. Nas is not perfect. He has materialistic dreams and wants. He desires to be the king. He wants to shine, but he also wants to inspire his people, inspire the world, and help lift us up in some way as well. And that is his most relatable message in some ways, because who doesn't want the same thing as well? The theme on here is multi-layered, and it works, and it truly works. On this album was mostly handled by track masters. However, on here they do a great job matching Nas with enough fire throughout on the beats, crafting production gems like Wash Them Niggas, Affirmative Action, Black Girl Lost, the sample heavy hit single If I Rule the World, and the truly dope Shootouts. Some Tone and Polk were relatively big at the time in hip hop and were creating hits, but to put them with an MC the caliber of Nas would have been a big mistake. Regardless, this paid off on that end, and track matches do a great job here. But they aren't the only producers who showed up here and have something and make something special for Nasir. LES, a longtime producer and friend of Nas, crafts a great track and Suspect, and assists and by co-producing Black Girl Lost, one of my favorite beats on the album, on the entire album. Dr. Dre only brings us the only disappointing moment music-wise on this album, with the the boring yet so what G-Funk laced production on Nas Is Coming, which is honestly one of my least favorite all-time favorite Nas songs. The song itself didn't just fit to me on this particular album, though Nas lyrically shine as always. The production just falters a little bit. DJ Premier will certainly make his presence known on this album with the knocking boom bap beat for I Gave You Power, Nas' epic track, the bristling keys and sample from Themes Bahamas from Ahmad Jamal backed with a familiar Primo's drum made this an amazing listen from start to finish, my top 5 all-time favorite Nas classic. However, the award for production MVP on this album has to go to Havoc for his work on the setup and loud nigga rap, and the underrated talent of Low Ground, Live Squad, and Top General Sounds for their flawless work on Take It in Blood and Silent Murder. Each provide a certain element production-wise, while Havoc brings a gritty and rugged feel to his production, and the Live Squad makes sure to supply Nas with enough boom back yet layer melody and bounce on they contributes to the album. Sure, track matches are the dominant producer on the album, but these two steal the show as far as the beats go. Just to take a listen to the opening melodies on both the setup and Take It in Blood, respectively, come on, man. Nas Spring and Foxy Brown twice on this album. The first appearance she would have is on my favorite song called Watch Them Niggas, as she helps advise and assist Nas with doing the hook. She is a nice addition to this song, and her voice does help drive the hook, and she would appear again on one of her most infamous verses on Affirmative Action, along with AZ and Carmega, who appeared as well. This being the first introduction of the firm before Mega was replaced by Nature. I must say I was a tad disappointed that it wasn't another AZ appearance on his album, but he still delivers on his verse here as usual. Dr. Dre assists on Nas Is Coming, helping to combine the East and the West during the so-called East versus West feud, which is this. It is a very monumentary collaboration essence. Then some of the features on this album are Havoc, as he assists on the setup, the track, giving the track a true Queens feel. Speaking of the Queens feel, Havoc returned for live nigga rap along with Prodigy for another yet anthem on this album. Two of the Nas most popular songs and hooks live on this album comes and reside on this album and comes from two different voices of R&B, as JoJo from Jodeci and Lauryn Hill respectively bring a flavor to Black Girl Lost and If I Rule the World. The album opens with a slave rebellion. Nas rebels against his master. Nas had this to say in his interview with Complex. If you listen to the beginning of Ready to Die, Biggie tells a story. We had the greatest rappers that could rap dominating the 80s, and here we come, young guys, so we had to say who we was. This was my story. The album opens with an album intro, which is a slave rebellion is heard, and it contains samples from Sam Cooke, A Change Is Going to Come, and from 1964, and the Slick, and the Wicked from a group called The Lost Generation from 1970. The The second single that's coming up next is The Message. From the start of the album, Nas take no prisoners and bring it from the jump with his declarance to be the king of this game on The Message. It's a simple and classic set of lines, but effective. They let y'all niggas know one thing is one life, one love, so there can only be one king. Powerful. Much of the lyrics on the final verse where Nas comes in and to his most poignant realizations in his career when he says, but a thug changes and love changes and best friends become strangers. This is one of my all-time favorite lines ever in hip-hop, and Nas was certainly in the zone when he described this classic display of skill. Similar to his debut LP Illmatic, Nas first began to rap on his Sophomore album. It was written on the second track, The Message. The song is considered one of his best and set the tone for the mafioso concept of the album. In an interview with Complex, Nas talked about what inspired the song. That was inspired by my position. Since my first album had great success, there was a lot of new rappers coming in the game, and a lot of us were making noise. You had Jay-Z coming, you had Raekwon breaching off to be solo from the Wu-Tang, you had Mobb Deep coming up, you had Tupac going crazy, you had so many different artists and things happening in hip-hop. It was just a real serious point in rap. It was crazy back then. Everyone was lyrical. Everyone could battle you. Everyone had a crew. Crews back then wasn't only popping bottles, they were popping pistols too. I haven't really been shot like I said in the song, but everyone else around me did. So I was a voice. There was a moment where it wasn't just being about being a fly guy with money. It was, I'm still in the streets. I still got one foot in the streets. We were all gunning for that position or gunning people off of us, trying to take our position. And that was my position on the message. Like, yo, back up, everyone. There's lots of new rappers in the game, and a lot of us was making noise. You had Jay-Z, Mobb Deep, Raekwon, Tupac, everyone going crazy. Everyone was going in for position, and that was my feeling on the message. Was like, yo, everyone back up. In the message, Nas took several shots at several people, including Jay-Z and the Notorious B.I.G. Tupac assumed this bar was aimed at him and lashed viciously against Nas on Bomb First. In actuality, the line was directed towards Biggie, and Nas spoke on this himself later. Tupac thought it was about him, but it was really towards Biggie. From the first lines all the way to one life, one love, there could only be one king. That was specifically going in that direction. The whole song, really, Tupac wasn't really on my radar for going at him. The opening song, The Message, featured production from the Trackmasters, Tone and Poe, and scratches from Kid Capri. The song was described as a bloody narrative. The song's title references the classic hip-hop single The Message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Nas shows off great storytelling, slick lyricism, and mean balls as he talks on fake thugs, taking shots at Biggie, and talk about his own thug life before the story of planning a hit and but being shot and portrayed by a friend. The samples from the song included Halftime and New York State of Mind by Nas himself, Impeach the President by the Honey Drifters, 70s Funk, and A Shape of My Heart by Sting. The third single that's coming up next from the album, which is one of my all-time favorite Nas classic ever, was Street Dreams. Street Dreams had Nas illustrating the mind state of drug dealing and explaining why kids growing up in the ghetto often chose this lifestyle. The bigger picture, or the street dream, is the ghetto's version of the American dream. Most of Nas' criticism focused on American educational justice systems. Nas talked about making this song in an interview with Complex. That was basically what I was around at the time. Guys wasn't diving in the music industry trying to get paid off of music. They were still hustling. I had one foot still in the street, so I was the voice of the people who I was hanging with. It didn't matter what this guy and that guy were talking about. I was talking about reality. I sang the hook on that, and I was definitely the first guy from my era that was singing. People wanted to hate until Biggie saying "play a hater." He stopped any hate that was about to start. When they saw him do it, they were like, okay, I guess this is the way things are going now. The beat is similar to All Eyes on Me from Tupac, which was also released in 1996. And because they both sample Never Gonna Stop from Linda Clifford, but according to Pope of Trackmasters, it was a coincidence. At the time Tupac came out with the same sample, we had no idea he was going to do that. Some people was asking and wondering, did Tupac take that idea from Nas, or did Nas take that idea from Tupac? What's the deal with that? They were just being creative on the West Coast, and we was being creative on the East Coast. It just so happened to play out like that. It was just a total coincidence. This song is the first song by Nas to crack the top 50s in the Billboard Top 100, peaking at number 22 on the charts. Our remix was featuring R. Kelly, was released shortly after the original. The song samples Never Gonna Stop by Linda Clifford with the interpolation of Sweet Dreams, or Made of This by the Era Rhythms. The fourth single that's coming up next is one of the greatest rap street storytelling and my top 5 all-time favorite Nas classics ever, with I Gave You Power. Through the speaker of the song, the song takes the point of view of an illegal handgun caught up in the kind of violence that characterized in its own being in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and the Queensbridge houses of Long Island City, Queens. While Street Dreams is lyrically sound, it lacked a little bit dealt lyrically, but one could not deny the level of genius on I Gave You Power. Becoming the personification of a gun, Nas weaved through the flawless production and created a story designed to show you the struggle of the gun this gun is going through. Like this verse, like, I'm always in some shit. My abdomen is a clip, the barrel's my dick. Uncircumcised, pull my skin back and cock me. I bust off when they unlock me. Result to what happened to niggas shock me. I see niggas bleeding, running from me in fear. Suddenly tears falling down the eyes of these so-called tough guys for years. He used great and very graphic metaphors and storytelling to personify a pistol as he goes through its life cycle and all of the violence. The pistol hates being a part of the violence and wants it to stop, but the cycle of black on black violence continue. It is very creative and interesting concept, exploring as Nas smashes it from start to finish. It is a perfect jazz fusion song. Legendary producer DJ Premier was the real MVP for this classic. DJ Premier would certainly make his presence known on this album with this knocking boom bat beat. The bristling keys of Themes Bahamas by Amar Jamal backed the familiar Premier Primo drums. Made this amazing listen from start to finish. The fifth single that's coming up next is Watch Them Niggas featuring Foxy Brown. A rare gem from It Was Written and Mafioso phase, which saw him jump on the Mafioso bandwagon started by Cool G Rap, changing his persona from Nasty Nas to Nas Escobar. Watch Them Niggas is a song of betrayal which sees an anonymous person addressed in the second person, perhaps the listener, or even Nas himself, betrayed by his crew and his women. With a silky, smooth bass and a simple sample from Earl Clutch, as well as an excellent Foxy Brown hook, this song comes together as a excellent through relative and Harvard Post golden age track. This is also an important track for the firm, as Nas and Foxy Brown composed half a day hip-hop supergroup. We find Nas at his lyrical peak and concession on the album. First, there was the legendary lyricism of Watch Them Niggas, where a song that Nas had known was going to be a classic for sure. Sure, the smooth instrumental and the Foxy Brown assist hook makes it even more special. Nothing beats the first verse in full form from Nas. It's on my list of top 15 verses of all time. What makes it so special, you might ask? Well, just take a look at the full first verse of Marvelous Glory, where it says, they never realized how real Nas is, so decisive. It's just the likeness of India's right that make me write this. A slice, a line rhyme, be chasing down your prime time. Food for thought, mana wine, wanna dawn one. Features a freak shit. My thesis of how we creep quit. Fucking your wife, that ain't no secret. See, it's mandatory. See that pussy, they handed to me. I got no game. It's just some bitches understand my story. There ain't no drama that my niggas never handle for me. My gator brand is Mercury, running through rough lands before me where the snakes putting a smile on their face, hoping and praying I'm stuck, scoping they way. Then they lay in the cut while wearing my luck. Player haters, played us in cell blocks and rock stages, winking at some females with cops with cock gauges. Really, it's the papers I'm addicted to. If it was rap, then I'll be sticking you. The mag inside the triple goose, face down on the floor, the routine. Don't nobody wanna blow steam, this screen, or it's a smoke screen. Imagine that. That's why I kicked the bragging raps. I zone, the agent zone in this ghetto habitat. I don't think you find a better opening verses than in that damn near all of hip hop. The entire song was full of lyrical gems from Nas as he put on his best performance on the album here. Coasting on the production, Nas leaving lasting impression to the listener with the level of genius within these lyrics, but it doesn't stop there. Not actually. Watch them niggas talks on how you have to watch those people close to you, as it's all about making money in the hood. Even your inner circle will trade you for some money. Nas provided the slick and complex lyricism with detailed descriptions and mind-blowing metaphors over these great samples and beats and bass. And Nas' incredible flow keeps this interesting whole way through and keeps this perfect start to the album. The sixth single that's coming up next from the album is Take It in Blood. Even within that storytelling, he stays very poetic, metaphoric, and slick with his lyricism as on Take It in Blood. It features a sample mixed up moves and attitudes by the 70s R&B group The Fantastic Four, and it also sampled a verse from Cool Key from Ease Back by the Ultramagnetic MCs. The following song, Take It in Blood, is truthful and running as well to be one of his best lyrical performances, as he takes each verse on a different journey, but the first and the third verse of the song are where he shines the brightest. The first verse is a classic for sure, as his internal rhyme schemes and wordplay are defeated here, where he says, I never brag how well I keep it, cause it's the best secret. I rock a vest, precises, Cuban link flooded Jesus, and a Lex watching Cafe Leah Reese's. My actions is one with the seasons, a text squeezing, executioner, winter time I rock it for mega popular, cinema attraction, climaxing. My bitches, they be laughing, they high sniffing coke over 20 cent and True Jackson. City lights spark a New York night. Rossi and Martini sipping, Sergio and honey flipping. Low price, I blow dice and throw 'em. 45, I buy my photo. Mega fast and do or die slogan. My niggas rolling 10 MVs. 10 guys popping willies on Kakasagi's. Hip hop got me on some more. Spraying shots like a drum roll. Blinking out. Never miscount to shell my gun hole. I don't stun. I regulate. Henny and Sprite. I separate. Watching crab niggas marinate. I'm all about texting. Good Jackson sex. Injurious books. Holding government names from nest. MCs are calling out every hole in the sum. UBI like blood money and a pimp's come. The lyricism display here is honestly some of the absolutely best on the album, and once again, some of his best work ever. The seventh song that's coming up next from the album is Nas Is Coming, produced by Dr. Dre. This song marks the very first time Dr. Dre collaborated with an East Coast artist. It caused a lot of controversy, mainly because the song was released around 1996 in the midst of the East Coast versus West Coast beef. Dr. Dre and Nas, without naming anyone, talked down the beef and referred to the rappers involved in it as clowns, which angered some, mainly Tupac. Later that year, Dr. Dre would sign Nas' new group, East Coast rap group, to his then new label called Aftermath, where included Nas himself, AZ, Nature, and Foxy Brown, was called The Firm. They were after releasing an album under the same name. Nas Is Coming sees Nas talk on running the streets, shooting his ops, and owning the rap game over this heavy bass and booming bap drums that sound amazing, as Dr. Dre makes such an entertaining beat with some great keys. He really paints an image in your head with the track with his poetic metaphors, as well as getting us to get in a simple yet catchy hook partner that with the best beat of the album and his perfect rapping, you have another amazing song. The eighth song that's coming up next from the album is one of my all-time favorite Nas classics and classic posse cuts, called Affirmative Action. There's not many features, but the ones that are on here all do really well. They demonstrated chemistry with Nas and do their job as the album moves on. Nas picked some good features for this project. One example being the posse classic cut, Affirmative Action, as AZ dropped a smooth verse with smooth lyricism and great punchlines, as he sized on this with an amazing flow. Kamega's means bars and slick lyricism. My destiny to be the new boss. That nigga Paulie gotta die. He too sore. That nigga's dead on a Kia heroin. They filed his head on the couch with his dick in his mouth. I put the head out. Matched his mean delivery, and Foxy Brown delivered a vivid and classic verse, and comes with so much swagger and aura that makes her stand out from all the rest. The track focused on the drug lord lifestyle of selling drugs on a large scale and bathing in the luxury that comes with it. as Nas dropped great bars and prove his mistake way with words like life's a bitch, but God forbid the bitch divorce me. I be flooded with ice or hellfire can't scorch me. The inspiring guitar strings give this beat a kick, and of course the bass guitar and the boom bap drum are fine. It's a nearly perfect song, and despite me loving every feature, I think the end of the verse of Foxy was definitely the highlight of the knife single that's coming up next from the album is the setup. Content wise, he focused on life in the hood as the main concept takes us through different events that may go on. As on the setup, which she not see Nas plan on revenge on people that killed his friends, using girls to enlist them for sex before jumping in and killing them. Nas used some incredibly vivid storytelling over this decent strip back boom back beat, which let Nas do his thing. Havoc brings his usual aggression style to the hook, and it fit the concept to as this a great trap is a great trap. To set up this pick a narrative for Nas' request for revenge after his friend is murdered. Not a single or song that was created for radio, especially with Havoc laying the instrumental. But along with the Messages and Street Dreams seems to be songs Tupac attacked him for fabricating stories and copying his life, in addition to working with Stress and Dr. Dre. The 10th single that's coming up next from the album is another one of my all-time favorites, which is Black Girl Lost featuring JoJo Haley. Nas tells a story of a girl who lost her way. He believed this girl used to be pure but has gone bad. She does drugs, drinks alcohol, sleeps around with different men, and many more. Nas provides some great and powerful storytelling, and this is a powerful track with a solid beat and great verse. Nas rapping is amazing as pure on here on another great song. Nas glared into the soul of the misguided sister on his song, while some of the lyrics were seen as dictatorial as to the black woman. He was looking at a certain type of black woman, likely the ones he have encountered since his fame began, or perhaps those he had encountered before the fame. Nas gained a form of awareness that and sees that's not really what he wants. He also paints the struggle of a black woman in the office and how some women use sex to elevate their importance, and when they possess much greater access mentally. Black Girl Lost is one of my favorite songs, and this is why. The sample from Stephanie Mills called Starlight is also hidden on the track in the background. The 11th single that's coming up next from the album is Suspect. He tells a story of killing a man and getting sent down for it, as well, given the commentary of the streets. The main hook suits it's perfect, and Nas' flow at its best on here. It's a key highlight on here, despite not really having a standout instrumental. There's also some bad beats, such as on Suspect, which isn't exactly bad. It's just basic and doesn't stand out, though. Nas makes up for this with great poetic bars and many triple, double entrants. The 12th single that's coming up next from the album is Shootouts. The biggest attraction of this album is Nas' impeccable storytelling. This has some of the best storytelling ever shown on songs like Shootouts, as verse 1 talks about a police officer and snitch having sex, as Nas and his crew burst in and kill them both, while the second verse describes a shootout with two gangs and the police, as he sets the scene in only the way he can with creative lyrics and detailed storytelling. The beat is so entertaining on this, with its flickering and glossy piano complementing the gritty, muddy atmosphere, as well as the loop sound great. It's one of the most gripping songs on here, and one of Nas' best songs, full stop. Shootouts is exactly what it sounds. Classic Nas, weaving vivid stories about being a murderous thugs in Queens. The first part referring to Nas and Jungle killing a notorious vigorant cop in that area. The second part is an actual shootout that happens as a result of gambling. This track comes after Suspect on. It was written and considered to be one of Nas' most underrated songs. The 14th single that's coming up next from the album is Live Nigga Rap by Mobb Deep. Originally, the song was for Mobb Deep and a new album, Hell on Earth. They decided that it was best for Nas to have it. Nas said he wanted that hardcore Queensbridge sound since Marley Marl wasn't producing anymore. I saw have it as the next generation. When me and Mobb Deep get into the studio, it's like family who doesn't see each other but are proud of what we become. We are still fans of each other. Live Nigga Rap has a feature from Mobb Deep, as Prodigy comes with a great flow, delivery, and rhyme schemes, and solid bars, as heavy, husky delivery and smooth flow gives us a solid verse over this Mobb Deep type of beat, which is a dark and murky boom bap beat with a deep bass, which sound exceptional. Nas' verse is full of great bars, as the three describe the pride dressing queens, and it's like, as well as how good they are compared to the competition. It is a great track. The last and final single that's coming up next from the album is If I Rule the World. Imagine that, featuring Lauryn Hill. It was released as the first single from the album, produced by Trackmasters with some uncredited input by Rashad Smith. It is based on a 1985 classic hit of the same name by Curtis Blow and samples the beat of Friends by Whodini. Lauryn Hill verse implicates the song Walk Right Up to the Song by the Delphonics. The single marked her first musical appearance outside of the Fugees. Lauryn Hill provided nice vocals and a good hook, which isn't anything special though, over this more mainstream beat with a sounding bass and glossy piano keys that partners well with a great boom bap beat. It's not the best on here, but it's enjoyable. He talks about what laws he implemented if he ruled the world, more or less, lists his dreams, and this is the best mainstream song of the project, and it does its job, and it's catchy. He says being a true hip hop fan and a Crush Groove fan, Curtis Blow was my favorite rapper when I was a kid. He's saying, if I rule the world, I thought that would be a huge chorus. This should be mainstream. That shouldn't be just be in the streets. The whole world should hear my voice, hear my point of views and my street language. We turn the lights on. I showed them what I could put on a Gucci Super Wallabies and not be the streets, but the streets to the next level. Now let's finish off this album with the mega hit "If I Rule the World," and its opening lines was some of my favorites on the entire album as well. It's Nas in a state of daydreaming, honestly, wishing for a better day, thinking about what he would do if he controlled the world. Controls. His first verse paints a perfect picture as it goes like this. Imagine smoking weed in the street without cops or rats, and imagine going to court with no trial. Lifestyle cruising blues behind the waters, no welfare supporters, no conscience of the way we will our daughters. Days are shorter, nights are colder. Feeling like life is over. These snakes strike like a cobra, but the world's hot. My son got knocked. Evidently, it's elementary. They want us all gone eventually. From there, Nas talked about opening up every cell in Attica, sending the prisoners to Africa, which is an entering goal for a few reasons. Talks a world with no condoms. I would assume and hope this means a world with no STDs as well, making Coretta Scott the mayor and the other illiterates goals, before finishing the song with a third verse that really sums it all up. Staying at the gangster lifestyle and everything that comes with it. All he really wants is to live healthy, wealthy, and to be free. Lofty goals, yes and no. But it is the look of the mind of Nas to see how he just wants to be the best in general, which is making to his desire to make a more successful album and take on a more successful write on this album. Regardless, it works. If I Rule the World boasts a high budget music video directed by Hype Williams, became Nas' first single to gain mainstream notice. The single reached number 53 on the Billboard Hot 100, while also peaking at the top 20 and on the Hot R&B/hip hop singles and track charts, and on the Hot Rap Tracks charts. The song was nominated for a 1997 Grammy Award for Best Solo Performance by a duo or group. The legacy of this album grew over the last 26 years. A album met with mixed reception and criticized by most for the excess and materialism is now love for all those same reasons and then some. I never looked at this album as an album of excess and materialism, but a album of Nas flexing his creativity and making an album that would fit where he was at the time and also helping him see success. Bits of this album were seen as commercial, like A Street Dreams, A Black Girl Lost, or If I Rule the World. Still show Nas at his best lyrically, but backed by catchy instrumentals and hooks that still held weight. And that was the beauty of this album. It was the perfect balance and blend of commercialism, excess, mafioso rap, and conscious rap, and aggression, all of which makes up Nas. All of these different facets of Nas and what he can bring to the table as a man and as an MC. I think Illmatic is his most raw album, but It Was Written is his most risky album with much creativity and focus on expanding his talents. I still love to listen to It Was Written regularly. 26 years later, it seems to hold up well and almost get better with every listen. The lyrical depth of Wash Them Niggas or Take It in Blood is unmatched. The precision of a Silent Murder or Live Nigga Rap is top notch. The commercial and sensibility of A Black Girl's Loss or If I Rule the World back with a deeper meaning is genius. The aggression, lyrics, and tone of Suspect, Setup, or Shootouts fits perfectly with the street mafioso rap theme and really painted this image of Nas Escobar. All in all, It Was Written is not only Nas' best album, but his most rounded album as well. 26 years later, Nas grew considerably, put out more classes, showing much more depth and imagery in his lyrics, and this remains the upper echo standard in his catalog. Salute to Nas and to this album and everybody involved with it. It's powerful. To include, this is a classic album and a perfect follow-up to a top 3 hip-hop classic ever. Some say it's better than Illmatic, and while I disagree due to the better production and slicker hooks of his debut. The rapping on this album is definitely better. The concept is more interesting. The rapping, some of the greatest ever, and it just runs smooth and polished throughout its runtime. His 1996 follow-up to a 1994 undeniable classic, Illmatic, was titled, it was written. Nas dropped what some say is the Bible of hip-hop, but there is some intense pressure to follow that up with a great album. But will he deliver? Nas would also get his wish, as the album remained his highest selling album ever. With 4 million copies sold domestically in the US, he managed to hit the number 1 spot on the Billboard 200 and stayed there for some weeks. Having the number 1 album for weeks at a time is a great defeat, and be able to sell over 4 million copies is a huge accomplishment, and Nas did it. He pulled it off well. He also had a huge radio hit with If I Ruled the World, which took over urban airways during 96 and still a popular song for bars and clubs to play on throwback nights. While Illmatic sketched his name in hip-hop history, it was written, sketched his name in musical history, period, providing him with one of the highest selling albums of 96 and one of his biggest hits on the radio. It Was Written is seen as a hip-hop classic among many and some great MCs. When it comes to this classic, my all-time favorites from this album is The Message, I Gave You Power, Street Dreams, Take It in Blood, Watch Them Niggas, Affirmative Action, The Setup, Black Girl Lost, If I Ruled the World, Suspect, and last but not least, Live Nigga Rap. And my least favorite song from here is Nas Is Coming. Thank you for enjoying this musical ride with me throughout the video. Please don't forget to like, share, and comment on the video. Subscribe to my channel if you're new. Also, don't forget to turn on your notifications for new videos. Like I always say, let's celebrate our legends while they're still alive, and always give them their flowers, love, and respect and recognition. Have a good night. Stay safe and blessed. I'm out. Peace.